have these vortices that are created by the structure of their nose and nostrils, so they have longer exposure. And in the case of the bear, for instance, I don't know how many olfactory receptors they have relative to a human or a bloodhound, but that the bear is likely spending a lot more time and can pull more air, perhaps. I don't know, but is using the mechanical aspects of the olfactory system differently. In fact, and here's now I'm recalling the experiment that led to this conclusion that humans have exceptional olfaction, which is that there's a particular compound that when introduced to a swimming pool, people can detect a difference in the smell of the water at a dilution that is outrageously small.
Like skunk spray.
Like skunk spray. Forgive me because I'm not remembering the name of the chemical, but he said you can essentially add a drop of this to a swimming pool, and then people can smell the difference between the water. And so his argument is not that humans are walking around sensing all these smells consciously as well as a bloodhound or as well as a bear, but that we have a tremendous capacity for olfaction that, that the chocolate tracking experiment exemplifies, but it requires some removal of our most dominant sense, vision, and hearing, our second most dominant sense. And in that case, tactile orientation as well. And so the idea is that, we have an amazing olfactory apparatus. In fact, he makes the argument, and there's evidence for the fact that as soon as people meet, and they've done these beautiful experiments, people meet, they shake hands, and the next thing they do, they tend to, within about a minute, they wipe the scent of the other person on their face typically. I guess I wasn't paying attention.
And they don't realize it?
People don't realize this. And
they just do it subconsciously?
Yeah.
Mercaptan, I think.
Mercaptans. Also known as how do you say that? Thiols?
Where's
Sulfur-containing organic compounds with a strong, unpleasant odor. They are colorless and yellowish liquids that can be flammable. Mercaptans are found in nature and in living organisms as a waste product of metabolism and in oil and gas. They are also present in certain foods such as some nuts and cheese and in decaying organic matter in marshes.
Right. So we're probably sensitive to the odors that matter.
That can kill us.
That can kill us. He also has this idea that I think is starting to take hold in real data, that we are constantly sensing our own odor plumes. That we smell ourselves a lot of times per day. That's actually very normal behavior.
Right.
There are all sorts of ways people do that nobody talks about.
Yeah, you check a sniff.
People check their sniff,
yeah.
And it's an indication of hormone status, immune status. When you have babies or puppies, you're looking at is a good poop or a bad poop, you're also paying it. Some people will smell the poop. I'm not a proponent of that, but we're constantly sensing the scent and taste of, for instance, our partner's saliva, right? Actually, an ex-girlfriend of mine wrote to me recently. I don't know what this question represented, but she said, do you think that when you become unattracted to somebody, the taste of their mouth becomes bad to you, or the other way around?
When you become unattracted? Then?
I guess she might have been dating somebody and maybe it had fallen out of favor, and she was kind of not attracted, and she was sort of noting that
the taste of
their mouth no longer it tasted kind of aversive now as opposed to before.
I bet that's in your mind. I bet you don't like them anymore, because if you're really in love with someone, you don't even care if they have bad breath. You still want to kiss them.
That's true too.
Because you just love them.
That's
don't care.
True too.
Yeah,
that's true too.
Yeah, you don't care if they smell. You don't care. You love them. But
right.
if they're gross and then they smell, you're like, ugh.
Right.
You fucking stinky asshole. This is a mule deer skull. So, this is not as extreme as an elk, but you get a look at the internal.
Okay.
If you look inside of that and you see.
Oh yeah.
Because they can wind you from 100 yards away easy.
So see this spongy stuff? I don't know if they can see it on video. There's this spongy stuff there. That's something called the cribriform plate. The cribriform plate is a bunch of Swiss cheese-like thin bone, and the olfactory neurons, which basically sit right behind the back of your nostrils, they send axons, their little wire-like connections, back into the brain. And when somebody gets hit hard on the head, that cribriform plate shears it, and that's why people become anosmic. They lose their sense of smell.
Yeah. Now, look at that picture.
Yeah. Now, what's amazing about the olfactory neurons is that they are among the very few neurons in the human and other mammalian nervous system that regenerates throughout the lifespan. So there's a little area of your hippocampus where there's some neurons that everyone makes a big deal of that frankly don't do a lot to regenerate throughout the lifespan, so-called neurogenesis, new neurons. But the olfactory neurons, even though they're a central nervous system neuron, just like your retinal neuron or your cerebral cortex, they can regenerate throughout the entire lifespan. And they do. Every time somebody takes a head hit or there's some, shearing off of these axons, they regenerate. Now, under conditions like we saw this a lot during COVID, where people were complaining about loss of smell. We see this when people age. Some people are thinking that loss of smell may be a correlate, not the cause, but obviously, but a correlate of age-related cognitive decline, dementia, and Alzheimer's, things like that. There are a few things. Actually, I think I recommended it to a couple of friends of ours. Now, there's very little data on this, but I will say, and I'll catch heat for this, but these days I catch heat anyway, so I don't care. There are good data, in my opinion, small amount of data, but let's call it decent enough data to explore, that alpha-lipoic acid at 600 milligrams per day during the time when you're starting to lose your smell might rescue some of that smell.
So if someone's getting COVID and they start to lose their sense of smell,
or any viral infection where they are losing the sense of smell.
What other viral infections cause a loss of sense of smell?
Well, anything that clogs the sinuses, certainly, but there are influenza viruses that do this. Now, I know as we're saying this that some people say, in fact, Noam Sobel told me that he felt that the data about alpha-lipoic acid were kind of on the weak side, but when people are losing their sense of smell and taste, it's really scary. I mean, it's one of those things where you kind of feel like so much of pleasure in life, unbeknownst to us, is
the especially with food.
Oh, I'll never forget when I got a viral infection and I lost my sense of smell, and I ate a handful of blueberries, which I love, and it just tasted like bags of water. I was like, oh goodness, like I don't. There are worse things in life.
Was it COVID that you lost your smell with?
It was. And I did the smell training, which has also been shown to work because these olfactory neurons. This is amazing. Their survival is activity dependent. They require electrical activity driven by sniffing and smelling. It is true that the behavioral tool of taking a lemon and really just like getting it close to that nostril and just really trying to get whatever little whiff of lemon you can, and then taking, your coffee and getting that little whiff of coffee, whatever little remnants of smell that you can get in there, has been shown to improve the survival and eventually the durability of not just the olfactory neurons, but scent. In other words, the behavioral training works. The alpha-lipoic acid thing is debated. The thing about alpha-lipoic acid is diabetics and people with blood sugar issues probably shouldn't take it. It can kind of reduce blood sugar a little bit. But when I had that happen, lost my sense of smell, I was like, listen, I want my smell back. So I took 600 milligrams of alpha-lipoic acid, and I was doing the scent training. I was like sniffing lemon, sniffing coffee, sniffing Parmesan cheese, sniffing anything that was pungent that I could recognize. And my smell came back in a couple of days, but then again, I don't know because I didn't run the control experiment.
Right.
Whether or not it would have come back anyway.
Is it only possible